19-year-old Michael Larson was the oldest of four children born to Mary and Glenn Larson of Madison, Wisconsin. Michael was enrolled as a student at the University of Wisconsin, as was his brother Tom, who was 18 years old. He had two other younger siblings, Glenn, 15, and Dan, 12. Growing up, he really wasn't a typical teenage boy. He didn't spend a lot of time listening to music or watching or playing sports. Instead, he would rather build things with erector sets, reading topographic maps or using a compass in the woods, paddling on the Wisconsin River, or studying geology, which was his major at the University of Wisconsin. Other than the immediate neighborhood, he didn't have a lot of friends. At 10:30 a.m. on April 22, 1968, Michael Larson said goodbye to his mother, saying he was going out for a haircut. April 22nd was the first day back for college students at the University of Wisconsin, but for some reason Michael was still at his parents' home in Madison. Little did Mary Larson know, as he pulled away in his 1962 Volkswagen sedan, it would be the last time anyone saw him. 2 days later, his abandoned car was found about 300 miles north of Madison in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Police actively investigated the case for about a year, until May 9, 1969, with authorities no closer to finding Michael or having concrete proof of his remains. Michael Larson was described by his mother as being 6 foot tall, about 170 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. He had never been in any trouble with the authorities, with the exception of one traffic accident. His mother went on to say that he was a top student at the University of Wisconsin. He had no health issues, no enemies, and no family or girlfriend problems. Authorities ascertained that on the morning of April 22, 1968, after leaving his mother's home, Michael Larson drove to the Lake City Bank in Madison, withdrawing $650 from his savings account, leaving a balance of just over $40. All he had with him was a poncho and the map of the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness Park. 2 days later, on April 24th, a conservation officer found an abandoned vehicle parked on a side road at a gravel pit off South Boundary Road in the Porcupine Mountains. The car's location was about 2 miles off of what is now M64 in Ontonagon County. This is the eastern entrance to a 60,000-acre state park known for its hiking trails, hardwood forests, and superb vistas. The vehicle was unlocked, the keys were in the ignition, and the car had a full tank of fuel. However, the license plate was missing, and there were drops of blood on the front seat cushions. The investigation of the abandoned vehicle was turned over to the Ontonagon County Sheriff's Department, with Sheriff Powelson tracking oil change stickers to lead him to the owner. A law requiring vehicle identification numbers to be displayed for all passenger vehicles was passed in 1968, but it wouldn't go into effect until the next year. Sheriff Powelson contacted authorities in the closest Wisconsin town, Hurley, to make contact with Michael Larson of Madison. On April 24th, the phone rang at the home of an off-duty Madison patrol officer named Michael Larson. "Are you Michael Larson?" he asked. He stated that he was. He was then asked what his car was doing in the Hurley area and replied that his vehicle was currently at home. The Hurley authorities then said they had his name from a license check from a vehicle they had found abandoned in the Upper Peninsula. After figuring out that this was the wrong Michael Larson, the Hurley authorities asked Officer Larson if he could check further and find anything else out from the Madison area. Police then went to the home of Mary and Glenn Larson. When questioned, she related that they had no relatives in the Hurley area and that she had no idea why her son would be there at that time. She told the police that Michael had always been a very quiet young man and had been described as an introvert by friends of the family. His college grades had been excellent. He was not facing the military draft at that time, and he had no apparent issues that would cause him to leave without telling them. Hurley authorities were then notified by the Madison PD that Michael Larson was being officially reported missing. In an article published on April 26th by the Wisconsin State Journal, It was stated that no leads had been developed in the investigation by authorities in the Upper Peninsula, other than a Michigan State policeman or deputy sheriff had reportedly seen Larson's car with a single male driver traveling slowly in the gravel pit area where it would later be found abandoned. On November 14, 1968, the day before opening day, considered a holiday to many firearm deer hunters in the Upper Peninsula, Sheriff Powelson requested hunters in the area to be on the lookout for any clues related to the case. Sheriff Powelson wrote a letter to Glenn Larson that day stating they were still investigating the disappearance. He said that there are 3 mine shafts in the area where the car was found, and the entrance of one is covered with rock. The park personnel have been checking these mines regularly, and that he had contacted the radio station again and asked them to rebroadcast the information on the air. He was optimistic that with deer season starting the next day, it would be quite possible someone may find something they could go off of. He did indicate that the U.S. Border Patrol had been notified in case Michael could have gone off to Canada. The November 14th edition of the Ironwood Daily Globe had an article that said, "Hunters have been asked to report any clothing or other items they may stumble onto while hunting, and to report any cabin that appears to have been lived in or broken into." On November 16th, 2 days into season, a hunter from Detroit was in the Porcupines hunting a couple hundred yards from Lake Superior, about a mile east of Buckshot Cabin. He saw something ahead of him protruding from 2 inches of fresh snow. Former park ranger David Young said that the hunter saw what looked like a boot laying on its side with a long branch sticking out of it. Upon investigating, he found that it was a boot laying on its side, but it wasn't a branch. It was a human leg bone still attached to a foot inside the boot. Obviously shaken, the hunter broke trail to the shoreline to mark the location, left the area, and reported this to the authorities. A search of the area the following day was conducted by Sheriff Powelson, deputies from the Ontonagon County Sheriff's Department, Michigan Department of Conservation, and the Michigan State Police. Ranger Young stated the match to the boot was found about 50 feet away from the first, along with several pieces of bone which appeared to have been chewed on. The boot, still laced with the foot inside, had deep teeth marks in the inseam and the sole. The bites appeared to be those of a bear. The Escanaba Daily Press reported the bones recovered had been sent to the Michigan State Police Crime Laboratory in Lansing, hoping to determine sex, age, height, weight, and other details. However, the lab was only able to determine that the remains were from a Caucasian over 17 years of age. The state police had said there was insufficient bone material to determine the height or weight of the unknown individual. Due to the snow and winter moving into the area, no widespread search of the area could take place until spring. A campsite containing a canoe, tent, and canned goods was discovered by accident in February of 1969, about 10 miles from the location that the remains were found. Initially, authorities thought this may have been Michael Larson, but the Ironwood Daily Globe reported in October of 1969 that John Courser of Land Lakes, Wisconsin, had claimed the items. When asked, Courser was reportedly unable to explain why he waited so long to claim his things. Courser, who is now 90 years old and still living in the area, told Tom that his family stayed in many of the cabins inside the state park, and he didn't remember seeing anyone matching Michael's description. He did recall the newspaper articles about the incident and the investigation, and he believes he may have even helped with the search. On May 9, 1969, Sheriff Powelson sent a letter to Michael's parents saying the search had resumed as planned as soon as the snow left. He stated they organized many search parties and combed the entire area thoroughly without results. Also, there was a very extensive air search conducted, and that many local citizens gave their time and efforts assisting in the search parties. They were now giving up the search as they felt they had done everything possible. Numerous theories have evolved over the last 50 years. Please keep in mind that none of these theories have been proven. Michael's siblings, with the exception of Tom, believe he traveled north to commit suicide. In the fall of 1967, Michael had dropped out of college, but he went back in the spring of 1968, perhaps to keep from being drafted into the Vietnam conflict. Tom said that both he and Michael had low draft numbers, which made their chances of actually being drafted higher. Michael's father had said after the disappearance that he believed his son planned a trip somewhere, perhaps to Canada, and does not believe foul play is involved. Tom believes Michael wanted the vehicle to go back to the family, as it was unlocked and had a full tank of gas. Mike Knack, park manager at Porcupine Mountains Wilderness State Park, said that the time of year was prime conditions for hypothermia and getting lost due to the mountainous area, the terrain, and the elevation, as well as the April weather conditions. Bears are just coming out of hibernation at that time and will be looking for food almost anywhere. Bear-human conflicts are experienced most during this time, and he finds it highly unlikely that the disappearance and the discovery of the boots and bones are not related. Michael's parents have since passed away, Mary in 1978 and Glenn in 1992. Tom continues to this day to investigate his brother's disappearance. He has gathered old police reports and tries to find people who may have information. He believes somewhere in the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness State Park there are still bones or other artifacts that could be compared to his DNA for identification. The bones collected in 1968 from the boots and the surrounding area currently cannot be located, and records either don't go back that far, no longer exist, or cannot be found. The Michigan State Police confirmed in 2020 that the National Level Registry of Unidentified Remains, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, has no records of the 1968 bones. In early June 2022, authorities with dogs once again searched the area where the vehicle was found with no results. Brothers Tom and Dan both arrived that month and visited several park locations. August 2022 saw Ontonagon County Sheriff's deputies and Michigan State Police utilize cadaver dogs in the area where the boots and the bones had been found. Park manager Knack said that the area was thoroughly searched, but nothing of any notoriety was located. If you like the story and enjoy this kind of content, please drop a like and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single future upload. At this point, we're looking at uploading new content once a week, and we're working on some really good stories for the next few episodes, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. So again, this is Rich from the Sheldrake Files. Thanks for checking out the video. Catch you next time.